We are live.
I was remembering last year's Christmas episode. I wore the Santa costume, and it was so hot. I was sweating. Mike wouldn't let me take it off.
Do you remember?
You said you were going to wear it the whole time.
Yeah. I didn't say what you did. I didn't say that was unfair. What you
I
were
just
doing.
try to hold you accountable.
Yeah,
and sometimes you refuse to be held accountable in the example of a particular not watching unless someone was traded situation.
For sure.
I do my best.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can do.
Yeah.
That's all we can all can do on Christmas.
We need each other to hold it. We need to be held accountable.
That's right.
What we're here for. I don't debate any of that.
CJ, what can we hold you accountable for?
Oh, we'll find out later. We'll find out later in the rundown. I think CJ needs to be held accountable.
All right. I remember not doing the pod last year for the Christmas show because I was traveling, and I remember like pulling it up on my phone like mid pod, and then seeing like I had forgotten that you said you were gonna
dress up like Santa,
wear the suit.
Yeah, I was looking for it this morning. I don't know where it is. I have a hot dog costume and the Santa costume.
Didn't you wear a costume at your live show as well?
The first one with Mutlu?
No, the most recent one you did for.
Oh, I was
radio.
I lost a bet, so we did a live show for Boomer and Gio, our morning show at WFAN, and our second one was at a much bigger venue, and I tried to warn everybody that we weren't going to sell out right away, so I bet them that we wouldn't, and we did, and losing the bet, one of our sponsors was Wendy's, and I was. So the bet was if I lost, I had to do something on stage that was not of my choosing. So the lost bet was I had to dress up in a Wendy costume of Wendy's in the blue and white dress and red pigtails while the crowd shouted insults at me. So that's what I did. So yes. I didn't keep the Wendy costume though.
Got it.
Did they provide it?
They did. Wendy's did provide it. They asked me in advance if it fit okay. It was a little small. It was a little hard to get on. Actually, getting it off was tough. I had to rip it off because I didn't have time. So I tore the dress.
You tore it?
Keep it. Well, I had no choice. So it had no give to it. So I was able to get it on, but I could not get it over my head. Nobody was helping. So in the back in the back where there's like zipper buttons or something, I just ripped it off like I'm Hulk Hogan or something. Yeah.
That'll happen.
My question is just like, where does this Wendy costume come from? Why do they have it on hand?
Yeah.
I've never been to a Wendy's and there's just someone dressed like Wendy there. Anyway. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS and brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Briggs Auction, the official auction of the process at briggsauction.com. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. And Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. Subscribe at rightstorickysanchez.com/newsletter. On the show today, are the Sixers actually contenders? It seems like they might be. We will discuss that. Whether Joel Embiid should be criticized for his foul merchanting. Daryl Morey signs a boat. Will Mike change his stance on dunking? And the Sixers dunking based on a new article in The Athletic. An honest question from a listener in Star Hunting. And does Nick Nurse deserve Coach of the Year consideration? If you are still hunting for gifts for Christmas, boy, you waited a long time. Fly the Process is a great one. Go to Los Angeles with us. Go see Sixers Clippers. Hang out, be weird. Go to rightstorickysanchez.com/fly to reserve your spot. We have seen Fly the Process given as a Christmas gift before. It's a good gift. rightstorickysanchez.com/fly, or if you need a custom package, send an email to joe@fansofphilly.com. Speaking of Christmas and New Year's, parties, get-togethers, stateside. Surfside, iced tea, and vodka. I can guarantee you, if you're having a get-together for Christmas or for New Year's, and they say, hey, what do you got to drink? And you say, got all the Surfside flavors in there. You have happy partygoers. Everyone's going to be fucking thrilled. Not only is it the official canned beverage, alcoholic beverage of Philadelphia, but of the holidays and of New Year's Eve. The best tasting one you can get. Tastes awesome. No carbonation, only 100 calories. Go to statesidevodka.com. You can get you can order the, what's it called pack? The variety pack there, or I think it's just fucking all over the place in stores now. You got to be 21. Surfside. Love it. And we have a special message. We got a note from a regular listener, Ryan. He's like, could you surprise Paul with a very special Christmas/birthday surprise on the podcast? So we're doing it on the podcast. Hey, Paul, it's me and Mike. We have a surprise for you. Your wife, Holly, and your friend Ryan, who lives in Portland, they've arranged for a surprise trip for you later in January to celebrate your birthday, and they're delivering it on Christmas. It was a little unclear whether it's a Christmas present or a birthday present, but in late January, you will go to Portland with Holly. You will visit Ryan, his wife, and son, and while there, you will see Sixers versus Blazers. This is entirely a surprise, so hopefully you actually want to go. Get some donuts, drink some beer. Portland's a great town. Love visiting Portland. So Merry Christmas, happy birthday from Holly, Ryan, Sam, Juno, and of course, the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast.
Telling Paul Reed that he gets to go to a Sixers game is ridiculous. Of course he's going. He's playing.
Would he be listening, though? Apparently, this Paul is a dedicated
I think
listener.
this is Paul Reed.
This is Paul Reed. In that case, congrats, Paul. You get to fly on the team plane. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who knows what the Christ lore as far as merch madness is. That is one, Mike Levin.
Wow. Intro video gets me every time. CJ
Yes.
did such a good job.
He did. Don't rest on your laurels, though, CJ. If something new happens, it should go in the intro. You're going to throw Podal Renters in there.
It's in there.
Yeah, no, I'm saying because he's going to do that. He's got to just make sure you're keeping up on it. That's all I'm saying. Don't rest on your laurels just because it's Christmas.
Just
Merry
a little
Christmas.
Christmas threat. A little don't get too high in your own supply Christmas threat from old Spike.
More of
old
that
Jolly
coming.
Saint Spike.
Yeah. So Sixers, would have been. I did think about just sitting on YouTube the night of the Wolves game just to let people in the chat so they could be lunatics. A enormous win over the Timberwolves. Hey, they looked a little off in the beginning, specifically Joel, but then just come back and basically obliterating the Raptors with the Heat sitting as the Christmas night matchup. Mike, I ask you this, and I know we're only a quarter way through the season, or no, we're a third of the way through the season, and I know there's, could be a trade coming, so on and so forth. But I ask you, are the Sixers this year actual contenders to potentially win the NBA championship?
I think you'd have to say they're in the maybe not inner circle, but just outside of it. Yes. I think that they've beaten a bunch of very good teams. Their offense is excellent. They have two incredibly efficient, difficult to stop players. Embiid playing some of the best defense he's played in a number of years. Role players to match it. I still think they need another player, as in like not just a role player. I think they need another player once it gets into a playoff series, and the Embiid and Maxy two-man game is really, really focused on, honed in on by the other team. But I mean, they look as good as we could have possibly expected. Better than we could have expected coming in this offseason. And then once Maxey started playing, once it was like, okay, Harden's not going to play, it's going to be Maxey point guard. I mean, this is crazy. It's crazy. They're beating the Wolves, number one defense, Embiid scoring 51 points on the number one defense. Rocked. That was awesome. And then just taking care of business in Toronto, even when on a night that they kind of didn't all have it.
Yeah.
Needed Tobias to lift them up. The old good Tobias game to just get us in the Christmas spirit. Comes once in a while. You never know when, but here it is. We got it. 33, 8, and 7. And 9 threes.
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
And but they're certainly a serious team in ways that in previous years they haven't been. So, they beat bad teams. They put them away early. Embiid doesn't play in the fourth quarter, and against good teams, they can compete. I really do worry it's too much Embiid and Maxy. You just look at it's just so much of them. It's just so much. And Embiid can handle it because he's done it for years, although he has been hurt every time in the playoffs. But Maxy, it's just a lot. It's a lot of responsibility, and I would love for there to be just a little bit more offense generated from other guys involved in actions, not just the two of them. But I mean, you can't argue with it. They're playing incredible. I'm just thinking over the course of the season and when defenses in the playoffs take things away.
So they're down on DraftKings. They I think they started the season as like plus 1,800 to win the title, and now they're plus 1,000, which I think is right around where the Clippers. I think they're like 4th or 5th or something like that. Just last question, as far as their championship, possibility.
What do you think?
Well, let me get what you think first, and then I'll give you mine. Let's say, would you agree, if we're saying a 10-point scale in which a team has a legitimate chance to win a championship is a 10, I would put the Celtics, Bucks, Nuggets sort of in a class of their own. Would you agree there?
I wouldn't put the Bucks in there, but
you wouldn't put the Bucks as a 10?
Not right now, no.
Okay, so Celtics, Nuggets a 10, Bucks a 9?
Sure.
And then the Sixers are an 8 or a 7?
I would say an 8.
An 8. Okay. That sounds about fair.
Is a 1 like the Pistons? Is that the scale we're working with?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the Pistons at a 2. Think if things break right for them?
Well, they'd have to break pretty right. Man, I feel bad for those guys. Holy fuck. Yeah. They certainly didn't want this, Yeah, I do, actually. I do. I do not see... I think they are a serious threat to get to the finals, I think.
But the problem is they have been for years.
But it is different.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I believe it is different. It's why I keep, as far as it being the year, I am not afraid to believe that this year is different. It appears different to me. Now, what are the odds that we're all sitting at the end of the second round pissed off with piss on our faces that I said this and just, Celtics fans clipping this and posting it online? Very likely.
CJ, fast forward to May for a second.
But I think it's fair to say that me specifically have been generally skeptical of their title hopes mostly for the last 4 or 5 years. I've never thought that they were a legitimate chance to do it. Now, do I get wrapped up within the playoffs in moments? For sure. But if I'm just thinking pragmatically during the regular season, I generally don't believe that they have a chance until this season. It seems as if I have wanted the Sixers to have a person who is like in charge, like a star-like guy who can drag them along. But the truth is that always had to be Embiid, and the number of players who are good enough and have that thing enough to be above Embiid in the pecking order on the Sixers, there's just not, they don't exist. There's a better chance, or they're not like gettable. There's a better chance that Joel becomes that person. And it seems as if the fact that there's not somebody sort of like competing for that, and the fact that the number 2 guy is so much younger and deferential to Embiid, but also not a coward, in Maxey, it has created an atmosphere that this is the best possible chance for Joel to be the guy, the leader, whatever it is. So that combination of things has me more optimistic during the regular season than I've ever been.
I mean, I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that. I think the Maxy's just been incredible, and he's, you wrote that Maxy learning to become a motherfucker article. It's just unfathomable how much better he continues to get.
He's averaging 35 points a game. So if it's fucking... Oh, Maxy you're talking about. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm still on a beat. Go ahead. Yeah, well, Maxy is unreal too. The fact... I forget, I think AU wrote it in a different article. The fact that he scores 30 so much and we don't even really mention it very much unless it's a special 30 is also pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, and the NBA has changed in ways since this, but 2011, 2012, the Sixers had just nobody doing anything like that.
Yeah.
It was a bleak time. And now we have two guys that, plus Tobias, who just can go off and carry this team. And it's a beautiful season so far. And maybe I'm protecting myself. Maybe I'm being overly analytical because of all the star hunting we've done this offseason and this season.
And we'll continue to do.
But it's just, not trying to be Mr. Poo-Poo, but it is just it's so much two-man game. It is so much two-man game. And it's not a role player issue really. You look through and you're like, those guys are good. Those guys are playing, it's hard to remove anybody from the rotation so easily. Although a bunch of guys are hurt right now. And you look at the rotation player that who can be improved on? Where's the spot that they improve on? And it is the Tobias spot. And it's, tough coming off of him scoring 33 on 23 shots.
It's not that tough.
It's a little tough.
It's not that tough for most of us.
But that is the position where you go could we get better on defense at the spot? Could we get better, a little more creation on offense on the spot? A little more flow. Because he just doesn't do that every night. There's no way he's going to. He's been around for too long. But that's where I look at it and go, man, Celtics, Bucks, even the Knicks in a certain, if they're clicking, they'll take away some of the stuff that makes it easy for the Sixers to get looks. And in those tough 7-game series, I don't think the Sixers right now have enough other ways to beat you on offense in the half court when the game slows down.
It does put a lot on those two guys. It absolutely does.
And I love Kelly Oubre. I love him, but
he can't be the guy.
Watch. I've said this so many times. Watch how much better he is just as a catch and shoot 3-point shooter and a cutter off ball. If he's starting to do stuff with the ball in his hands, dribble into mid range, he's barely hits rim when he does that. He shouldn't be allowed to. He's so good doing the other thing, but don't make him do other stuff. And they need a guy that can do other stuff.
The Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. I have a message for you if you're a dog owner. Look, your dog doesn't know that it's Christmas, but inside your dog will know it's Christmas if you get them something good. So dogs get happy when you get them something good, and your job is to make your dog happy. So if you haven't gotten your dog a great Christmas present, it's okay, because you can order it now, and in 5 days just tell the dog it's Christmas, and he or she will be thrilled.
Wow.
Look, you can lie a little.
Lie to your dog.
Lie a little. Go to go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, and you can get your dog the best Christmas present ever. Maybe get the dog a couple little treats, wrap them up in paper, and then the big present. You want a little build up, stocking presents, and then the big one. The big one is a Big Barker dog bed with 2 processed pup patches that you only get by going to bigbarker.com/Ricky. bigbarker.com/Ricky. What will your dog be getting with a Big Barker dog bed? Well, health, happiness. The only dog bed on the market engineered by experts to keep them healthier and happier. Proven by a study at Penn Vet The Big Barker dog bed supports your dog's joints in a way that no other dog bed does. Keeps your dog healthy. As your dog gets older, your dog could develop arthritis, just like some of us right here. And if it is sleeping on a Big Barker dog bed, the effects of that arthritis will be minimized, will be happier, healthier for longer. I want you to think about if you were sleeping on a bed that was not good enough. If you were sleeping on a pillow, which is essentially what dog beds look like, you would feel like shit. Your dog needs a real dog bed, and Big Barker is that. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. A 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, if your dog doesn't like it, they will give you a full refund, even pay for the shipping. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. Here's an interesting voicemail. R.E. Joel, R.E. Championship that we got to 833 Lickface.
Spike, Mike, CJ, it's Scott from Flowertown. I love Joel Embiid. Probably too much. He is not going to get us past the second round. As long as we depend on him to get us over the hump, the team is not getting past the second round. If it's injury, if it's a humiliating no-show in, say, Game 6 and Game 7, he is an amazing player, and he is not the guy to get it done for the Sixers in the second round of the playoffs when the season is on the line. If we hand the ball to Tyrese and say, go get us a bucket, maybe we can do it then. Maybe we get lucky and Batum goes 4 for 5 in the fourth quarter from deep. But it won't be Joel. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't harbor a lot of ill will. I've just been listening to this podcast since fucking Point Jakar and KJ McDaniels discussions. And I love Joel, and he is not the guy. I guess my basketball question is, in the face of you guys saying you ride with Joel, he's your guy, can you see a way to making peace with it has to be Maxy that gets us past the second round?
What do you think?
I mean, that's a very binary way of looking at this thing that I don't look at it that way at all. But I can appreciate that some people do. I think that the Sixers thus far have had a system this season that can make it be that whoever gets the open shot is the guy to do it. Joel is shooting 1,000,000,000% from the field. He is impossible to stop in the mid-range. He will occasionally force it, and he was forcing it in the first half of that Raptors game. But the cool thing to me about the Joel Maxey pairing has been how deferential they are to each other, and how willing Joel has been to give Maxey so much credit, and him saying like he's our guy in the fourth quarter, whatever. It is hard to run offense through a big like Joel in the fourth quarter because there's so many fast twitch.
Prevent him from getting the ball even.
Yeah, or just fast twitch, like athletes, think about those Toronto teams, the Boston teams, whatever, like just making it hard on him, always digging down, having limbs in his way all the time. But Maxey's speed on and off ball allows for enough movement. There was a time, I forget which game it was. It might have been the Minnesota game, where Maxey cut so hard towards a dribble handoff. Joel keeps it, but because Maxey cut so hard, the defense had to account for that, and it allowed Joel to go 1-on-1 just from Maxey taking his like off ball drive so serious, because he could, it's like a running back on an option. And Joel got to go 1-on-1, and once that happens against a big that is even as good as Rudy Gobert but not as mobile as Joel, they're going to lose. It's easy to say that that Embiid can't do it because he hasn't done it. So that's an easy thing to say in the playoffs. He hasn't done it and he can't do it. But it's about projecting forward, not just saying they haven't in the past. And so I think that if you get him one more guy that can do some stuff with the basketball in his hands and allow him to be a threat, either when Max on the court or not, I think that this team is as capable as any team in the league of getting there.
I do think about things more binary in that way than you do. And the thing that you said, I think, is the most true. You can't do it until you have done it.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of players there's plenty of both. There's plenty of players in the history of basketball who everyone said couldn't do it and never did it. There's plenty of players in the history of basketball who everyone said couldn't do it and then they did it. And the truth is that I believe that he can until there's no longer any chance that he can, because he is simply our best hope for, as great as Maxy is, great player, he's nowhere near as good as Embiid, as at literally almost anything. So will there be a game in the playoffs where Embiid is off and Maxy needs to go for 42 and carry the offense through a game 6 or even a game 7 at some point? Sure, absolutely. That every team, every serious team in the NBA who has a chance at winning a title will have a player who can do that. But in the end, if we win a championship, we will have to look back at it and say Embiid was the force that did it, and I still believe that he can. I wanted to make sure we played this. We got was it Candace? We got a DM from, I think it was Candace on Instagram, that said, you really need to hear Rudy Gobert's post-game presser because he sounded like a big fucking baby right afterwards. And there was a lot of whining and crying from Timberwolves fans, and then it just became a little bit bigger about Joel's foul drawing. And by the way, Joel got called for a foul in that game before Rudy Gobert did ever. But here is Gobert after the game whining and crying.
Rudy, tonight, Joel goes for 51. How hard was it to defend him, especially maybe with some of the whistles that you were getting out there?
I mean, he had an amazing night. You know, he's obviously it was MVP for a reason. You know, it's a very, very tough matchup, tough player to guard, but it makes it even harder for me when you know the officials call some fouls like they called the first 2 fouls, and you know that puts me in foul trouble, and then it's even harder to guard it. You know, so I wish they would let us not call the game more fairly, so I can really at least try to be me, and try to make him work even harder. Regardless, he made a lot of tough shots tonight.
There we go. He wishes the league would call the game more fairly, because we all know the league is angling for the Sixers to win the title because it's not fair. Honestly, you look at the fouls that Gobert got called for, and they were fouls. Is Embiid sort of like gamifying the whole thing to get on the line? Absolutely. But he does the same thing every game.
Yeah.
Just don't fall for it. I don't know what else to say. Like, is the only thing that I worry about
is
also
17 of 25 from the field.
Yeah, right. Wishes they would call things more fairly. Oh, come on, big baby. Don't touch his arm when he's shooting, and then they won't call fouls, I guess. So I just hope Joel is aware, of course, that a lot of those calls are not going to, it's the only like hardened thing that keeps coming up in my head, that those are not called in the playoffs the way they are called in the regular season. So
I mean, yeah, of course, every year Embiid's been doing this for years. He's incredible at drawing fouls. The reason he went away from post-ups is because they can pretty much beat the shit out of him in the post.
Yep.
And at the nail, when he's acting more like a wing, that it's in plain sight of the officials. And if somebody gets too reachy, if they bump you, if they're, he gets going on the pump fake and somebody jumps, like they're gonna bite. Do I wish that refs overall were less like gullible freaks? Of course, I think it would make for a better product. I think the game is better, and I don't think that would like harm Embiid's efficiency or ability to succeed in the NBA. It would change it for everybody.
Yeah.
But as the game is currently called, it's not like Embiid. Embiid gets like Harden, as much of the foul drawing grift stuff as anybody. And I think people do it all the time. I think Giannis is doing it all the time. Trae Young does it all the time. Like, CP would do it. Everybody's doing it. This is what you do. The system has been in place that the refs are going to be gullible freaks. And so how do you not take advantage of that? I wish he didn't. I wish that it wasn't that way, but he's good either way. So I don't know. I don't know if Rudy Gobert can be himself, whether or not the refs are calling those fouls.
So, wait, what did I want to do here? Oh, before we get to a Kelly Oubre question, the Sixers did sign a two-way contract. And Mike, I want clarity from you on this because I believe this to be one thing. So the boat thing has a boat in his gut, of course, came from a caller, but was used initially in the guy that's on the Grizzlies.
David Roddy.
Now, David Roddy is a big burly guy.
Yeah.
So the Sixers signed Kenny Lofton Jr., who is a biggin, and we started getting tweets that the Sixers signed a boat. But I don't think boat means big guy. I think a boat means the guy has a motor, right? So Kenny Lofton Jr., I would not. He does seem like an offensive sort of like juggernaut. The 3 times that I've watched him, but he does not strike me as a boat.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
Doesn't have a boat in his gut.
Making up terms and then defining them.
Well,
what we do.
We get to define them.
I like Kenny Lofton Jr. a lot. I think people are giving me credit for him being like my guy, and I don't want to. I like him very much. I'm happy that they signed him, but I don't want to claim I was in on him from the beginning when I necessarily wasn't. David Roddy is more that for me. I like the signing. He's a big. Daryl likes his big honking weirdos. It's a very the easy comparison is Chuck Hayes, who Daryl had for a while in Houston, and Chuck Hayes was a very effective, especially defensive player at his size and lowness to the ground and immovability. Kenny Lofton is more of an offensive player than Chuck Hayes was, and he has a tougher time moving his feet. He doesn't really protect the rim, that kind of thing. But offensively, he just kicks ass.
Pretty sick. I remember watching him in Summer League. I was like, what the fuck is this guy? Like
he's just unstoppable
to guard. Yeah.
Yeah. He has great handles. He gets into every big's chest. There's obviously the footage of him and Wembanyama. He's sick. It's such a perfect guy to have on a two-way. I'm glad he's here. I don't know what he's such a strange player, and I think Daryl likes those kinds of guys, and so do I. What do I say if he gets better at this, then he will be in an NBA rotation? I don't know the answer to that. He's not a role player. He's like, if you let him cook, he will do well, but then you kind of have to organize your system around him a little bit, which is tough to do in a guy on a two-way contract. But I'd like to see it sometimes. Absolutely, I would. Let him be backup point guard. I don't give a shit. Let's go. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be very fun. We were asking who the victory cigar is. Well, we have found it. This is great.
Big old cigar. Enormous cigar.
Enormous cigar.
Tank cigar. That cigar in your mouth. Yeah. Yeah, he is. I mean, there is a little Okafor to this,
No.
A little bit.
No.
Yeah.
Kenny Lofton has so much more force and physicality than Okafor does.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I think he's probably a better defensive player.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it looks like. I'm excited to see if he gets in the game. I'm sad about Javonte Smart. I do think he's an NBA player, but this is sort of, to read further into waiving a two-way player than I probably should. This seems to indicate to me, they brought him up. Pat Bev's out right now with a heel thing. They bring Javonte Smart in for one game. He gets to play. He gets to dribble out the clock. Here come the Sixers, and then he gets cut. And I think that means to me that Daryl is either close to trading for a point guard, in the Monte Morris, DeLon Wright, fucking Tyus Jones realm. Or Terquavion Smith is just so good that he's finally going to let me see it at the NBA level.
Wow,
And
you're really looking deep into.
Well, because it's so obvious when Maxey's not out there, they're just like so struggling. And the Maxey minus Joel minutes are good, and the team is good around him. But the Joel minus Maxey minutes, it's just it doesn't seem. It's clunky. It's thick. The air is thick. It's hot. It's
Enter
a swamp.
Kenny Lofton.
Enter Kenny Lofton. That's we have to go in the other direction, which I think is great. So we'll see.
So I have my
Nice
thoughts.
that Javante got to play in a game though.
We got this.
He gets
video,
a ring if they win.
This video. Forget about the fact that Joel is waving off or ignoring wide open Kelly Oubre in this video, but we did get some notes about, does this video show Kelly Oubre slapping the hardwood? Mike, your judgment on this?
Who's hurting you?
Boom, boom. Does that count?
No.
Does not.
No, not at all.
No.
I like it though, but I like that he's like, I'm not getting it. I'm gonna go back on defense.
Yep.
Joel has not shot it yet. He hasn't even gotten into a shooting motion yet. He's out of there.
Yeah.
He's gone.
He knows what's happening. So before we get to the dunking information, which is new information,
I just want to say one thing. We talked about. I forgot to say this in the foul drawing situation.
Yes.
About Joel.
Yep.
We don't talk about it enough. He and the team at large being a right now top one, but for years, free throw percentage team is so big, and I just cannot wait for a playoffs to happen when the fact that they shoot fucking 96% from the line when it counts will make the difference, and they get to advance past the second round because they're shooting as a team 85.6% from the line. They give their opponents, which is first, the Sixers, first in attempts, first in percentage. Their opponents shoot 79% of the line, which is right in the middle. And that's points over and over and over again. And the fact that Joel is as good as he is at drawing fouls and being that excellent from the line, where Gobert and Giannis and a particular point forward that is no longer here are not. And Maxey's obviously shooting fucking 90% from the line. Tobias shoots 90% from the line. It is a real luxury to have so many good free throw shooters on this team. And I want it to be, I want that to be the edge that they have someday, because it's been great for years, for absolute years.
So before we get to Briggs Auction and dunking, CJ, could you bring up this tweet? Now, this tweet came from JB. CJ is officially the most famous person I've taken a picture with. Saw his whole friend group too here on Twitter. And CJ is carrying, we joke that it might be a blanket, but is carrying the Eddie Bauer. Is it Eddie Bauer jacket you got from Briggs Auction?
LL Bean.
LL Bean jacket you got from Briggs Auction.
That's right.
So, Mike, I ask you this. Is CJ getting maybe a little big for his britches? I think is
love
the question.
I think it's great. I think everyone should be yelling at CJ when he's running a race. And if they see him at a Sixers game, absolutely take a picture with him. He loves it. It is getting to be, for me, a little bit concerning that the friend group is always just out of frame.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like discussing the friend group and thinking that the friend group is there and hearing what the friend group thinks.
Little bit his girlfriend in Ohio that nobody's ever met.
They're always just like, oh, they're in Canada for the weekend, like just out of frame kind of thing.
Sure.
And I don't. It is starting to become an issue for me.
He's that Nathan Fielder meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend did take this photo, and
Yeah, of course.
he did, I think, inspire this happening, because we noticed that the row literally in front of us, like the we're sitting in the seats, and the person right in front of me.
This is Sixers Raptors?
Yeah. I noticed midway through the fourth quarter, she's wearing a Ricky hat. She's wearing a Ricky beanie right in front of us. And then immediately my friends noticed, and they're like, "Yo, like, you should say this. You should say that."
Tap on the shoulder. You know who I am.
So I was like, I'm not gonna do that. And then it was funny and stuff. And then we were, as you see in this photo, using the restroom, and my friend
I don't see that in the photo.
right behind us.
I see that there is a restroom, but
Yeah.
you're not using the restroom in the photos.
Yeah,
in
not
the
in the
photo,
photo.
currently we are not. We had just finished using the restroom, and my friend jokingly came up to me from behind and was like, "Yo, are you CJ? Like from the restaurant, Sanchez?"
Sure.
Like just messing with me.
Classic friend group.
And
thing.
then
Yeah.
JB, great guy, comes up out of nowhere and is like, "CJ, can I get a photo?" And I'm like, "Is he fucking with me because he just heard my friend doing this?"
Yeah.
And it turns out he actually
Now,
listens to the pod.
CJ,
And this is not the guy that is with the girl with the Ricky hat. Different
No,
person.
separate. Yeah.
Okay.
So CJ, you say JB's a great guy. We did get an email from him.
Okay.
I'd like to follow this up. This comes from JB. Just met CJ yesterday at the Toronto game here in Philly. He was very nice and respectful, but there's no shot he is 6 feet tall.
Wow.
Maybe if JB listened a little more, then he would know that I'm actually 5'11" and 3/4, as proven at Live Ricky.
Wow.
So maybe you, if you go to briggsauction.com and get yourself a coat, will get noticed at a Sixers Raptors game and have a stranger want to take a photo for you.
Yeah. People
With you.
will confuse you for CJ.
Love Briggs Auction. BriggsAuction.com. 4-generation family-owned and operated auction house in Delaware County. CJ loves the clothing section. I'm big on the art one and the collectibles. They launch new auctions almost every week. There's another sports collectibles and sneaker auction coming January 12th. And a little surprise yesterday, there was an auction that ends on January 5th that they weren't going to launch until next week. It's already up there. So if you go to briggsauction.com right now, you can bid. And look, this is not my thing, but I did notice, I thought it was cool. It was fun to look at, which I think there's a lot of stuff that's Briggs that is just fun to look at in the auctions. A lot of fucking Batman stuff. Old Batman stuff, fucking 90s Batman stuff, 60s Batman
I'm just
stuff.
Bobby Abreu stuff. That's really what I
Yeah, I
go
didn't
for.
see any Bobby Abreu stuff in there, unfortunately.
There was the other day though, so I'm finding it.
A lot of great art, a lot of great collectibles, a lot of great clothes, a lot of great furniture, one-of-a-kind items that you will not find anywhere else. I urge you to download the Briggs Auction app, BRIGGS, on the App Store or Google Play. Or if you don't like downloading apps, just go to briggsauction.com, check in once a week or so, see what auction they have going on. I love the one-of-a-kind stuff, and I love online auctions. I just love the little competition of online auctions. briggsauction.com. And if you have a bunch of stuff that you think is worth a lot of money and should be auctioned, you can only go to Briggs Auction. Send an email to info@briggsauction.com. Briggs Auction, Briggs Auction, briggsauction.com. So there was a brand new article in The Athletic written by Tim Cato about dunking, which is interesting given two different things. One, the less so the guitar versus dunking debate, and more so Mike's insistence that the Sixers dunk more than they do. And Mike, did you read it?
I did read it.
Okay. I want to read a
I
few different...
I thought it was good. I
was-
thought it was a good piece. A lot of people sent it to me. And then like a couple days later, John Gonzalez sent it to me. I'm like, yeah, John, A little late, pal.
I like the fact that when I read it, I was like, I've never read anything like this before.
Yeah.
It was I thought it was interesting, but the crux of it was really two different things. It was one about what a sort of like sign of stature within playing basketball when you can dunk in a game, specifically in the NBA, when you can dunk in an NBA game or dunk on somebody, how but Mike, you would never dunk
Especially
in the NBA.
if maybe effortlessly if that was the
in the
that was the
NBA, in the NBA. But the second thing is the physical toll that it takes on your body, which when you take a step back and think about it would seem obvious, but you don't really think about it. So here are some passages in there. One from Austin Rivers. Can you think of any other concept where your hand swings at something metal? It'll probably hurt. Yeah. When asked, players catalog the pain dunking has caused: broken nails, bent fingers, recent bruises, lasting scars, mid-air collisions, twisted necks, dangerous landings, injuries that cost them games or even seasons. They talk to Derek Jones Jr., point out two specific marks on his left wrist, Larry Nance Jr.
It's a wide net of people. that
Josh
they talk
Green,
to is enjoyable, including like Marcus Johnson,
Yes.
who
And
still dunks once a year at 60 something, which rules.
It noted that the number of dunks, obviously because of the value of a dunk, in the lane dunk or layup versus a three, that has gone. But 02-03 regular season, there were 8,200 dunks. Last season, there were 11,600 dunks, which is a pretty crazy number. Willie Green says, If you could dunk, people looked up to you. They glorified you. It felt like you got over a big hurdle in basketball. It was a huge step in basketball when I was able to dunk. Markieff Morris said, you're young, you're bouncy. You dunk so you could talk your shit. It was the first thing youngsters like him did stepping into the gym and the last thing they did before they left.
Absolutely.
Nick Batum says, when you're first dunking, your fingers are full of blood because of the contact, but you get used to it. You have so much joy of dunking. You're one of the few people in the world that can. And then Dante DiVincenzo says, when you try to dunk on somebody, you're hyped up, you're amped up. You don't feel any of that other shit. But then DiVincenzo says, shit, those things are really adding up. A lot of the younger guys want to dunk every single time. I am not like that anymore. DiVincenzo still dunks. He had 9 last year, but prefers layups when possible. Sometimes a dunk is the only way to draw a foul, he says. Willie Green said, they're chasing you down hard on a fast break and you want to lay it up, but you know if you lay it up, they're going to block it.
Yep.
I'm like, man, you made me dunk that.
Yep.
He said it was hard on his knees, especially his left knee, which was surgically repaired in 2005. That force, that gravity compounding with coming down, it takes a toll on you. Steph Curry said, I had no problem letting that part of myself go. I very easily moved on to the next chapter of my career.
Yeah, for Steph, I'm sure. Yeah.
Nick Batum said, my body told me. It said, no more, bro. Now he only dunks gently with 2 hands when he's alone at the rim.
He does do that, which I think is a cool stylistic choice of his.
Markieff Morris said, when you hit 32, the game isn't about dunking anymore. It's about longevity and being able to play at a high level. Caron Butler said he wished he had realized that sooner. When he was younger, Butler, who had 2 All-Star appearances before retiring, became a Miami Heat assistant coach, practiced as hard as he played. I overemphasized the 2 points I was getting, trying to prove off or show off my God-given ability. It would have given me more longevity. It's just 2 points. So, Mike, are you, knowing about all of these injuries, the pain, the toll it takes on your body, more accepting of Tobias, Joel, these players that are in the sort of not over the hill, but in the middle of the prime of their career, potentially not dunking so hard?
Absolutely not. Not a chance. This is the price of it.
Give him a break.
You guys get to do this. This is the price. This is the price you pay to be able to do something this cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Joel in a fast break has to go like between the legs or hang on the rim or whatever. But in the context of a game, there's times when both Joel and Tobias go up for a layup and it's either blocked or they don't get a foul drawn or they don't get an and one out of it. And it's like, yeah, maybe in the regular season, there's a couple times we don't take it. Although Tobias, once again, dunk counter, 23 on the season. Once again on pace for a career high.
What was he at? Well, but you remember what happened when you pointed that out last year. It was right around this time, I think, actually.
Yeah.
What did he end up with last year?
51 is my memory. I'm checking.
So he's on pace for like 60 dunks.
Yeah, I mean, his career high is 55.
Okay.
Last year at 51, yes. It's
okay.
Odd to remember that, but yes. Embiid up to 14 after having 9 through a number of games. He had 5 in the last few. But still leading the team in dunks is my friend Kelly Oubre Jr., who listens.
Who seems to be dunking harder more often.
I love it.
Honestly.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, dude. Come on. You get to do it. You should be doing it. Absolutely. And I love when the article's great because some of them is like, Caron Butler being like, I wish I had learned it before. Markieff Morris being like, yeah, it's a young man's game. And Marcus Johnson being like, dunk as long as you can. Never stop. And I think that rules. Yeah, it's not, some of it is an impactful, you have a fast break, whatever, you want to get the crowd juiced up from something, that's fine. But to me, it's really like, hey, you have an opportunity to put one home here and you are laying it up soft and allowing someone to impact the shot in a way that you wouldn't if you just exploded off of 2 feet and crammed on his head. So that's my ethos. I'm not going to apologize for it. I cannot dunk. I have never dunked. And so people who can, especially on the Sixers, I'm encouraging them to do it as often as possible.
We will do a shortened version of Star Hunter. I have 2 I want to ask you about, 1 voicemail, 1 email, and then the suggestions continue to come in. I think Star Hunter will heat up after the new year as more rumors start but we will find that out. We got this voicemail to 833 Lickface.
So I've been listening to the podcast, and every week we're doing star hunting. So I was wondering, who do you guys actually want? 'Cause it seems like every player we keep going over, there's some sort of, I don't want him, I don't want him. Who would be perfect for this team? And I'm not coming, this is just a genuine question, because I really don't know either at this point who's realistically gettable and a perfect match. I love the pod. I just wanted to ask that question. Who is realistically the best person we could get? Maybe Donovan Mitchell, but that's a little too small in the backcourt. So who do you guys actually would really, really want is what I'm asking. But love the pod. Thank you.
It is tough.
That's it's a fair question, and I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Because you look at you open the net wide, and it's like, could have anybody. And then you start to get, okay, pick one. And then you go like, well, there's a lot of issues. That guy's probably not going to become available.
Or, we're not going to be able to get him. We'll get outbid, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I think you have settled into the real question is, by the time the deadline, with your last sort of focus, I agree. By the time the deadline comes, because the Sixers only have 3 picks, are they going to be close enough to go for a player who would be worth taking away your shot at a super high-level player because you think this player is enough to get you over the hump?
Yeah.
So the question becomes, in the mold of, even though he got traded for 5 firsts or whatever at one point, the DeJounte Murray, Bogdanovich sort of question. And yeah.
To me, there's like role player types.
Yeah.
Like a, Malcolm Brogdon, Buddy Hield.
Yeah.
Alex Caruso, who's obviously, those players are varying levels of good and helpful in different areas. Where you go like, those are nice players, but I'm not spending the assets on them required that takes us out of something in the off season.
Yep.
And doesn't allow us to have, okay, here's a third option when Maxy and Joel don't have it going.
Doesn't meaningfully change your championship odds this year.
Yeah, and so I'm the most role player guy on the internet. I love them. I prefer role players, but in this situation, the Sixers have enough of those. They have enough guys that can handle that come in, hit, catch, and shoot threes and defend. And so the question is like, do you need a guy that's more offensive focused or defensive focused? And I'm, as much as I'm normally the other way, I think offense is where I would go here. I think the rotation is shortens in the playoffs, and you find the best matchups of whether it's like, Oubre and then B-Ball and then maybe Covington, maybe Pat Bev. Maybe by that point, Jaden Springer is playable. Who knows? I think that defensively is not necessary. Even though the team defense is not as good as the team offense, I think in the playoffs there's more concern there. You don't want somebody who is a complete zero on defense and doesn't give a fuck there, which I think eliminates Zach LaVine a little bit. But can you go get somebody who is signed to a couple more years, can initiate when Maxey's not out there or when Maxey is being blanketed by somebody, and also shoot off ball. And so that's where you get into the Bogdanovich, you get into the DeJounte Murray.
But
the perfect player is like Drew, but he's not coming.
Yeah. And Drew, by the way, if the Harden trade hadn't happened, PJ emailed about this. Like, if the Harden situation had resolved itself more quickly, you could have been involved in the Drew scenario, by the way, which
maybe,
is yeah. And by the way, just to bring this back before I get to the email, it does make you, even though we both said no to Zach LaVine, for sure, but your need for offense, and we're talking about guys like Bogdanovich, who's a good offensive player, but then you talk about how good an offensive player Zach LaVine is and the cost of him. Now, obviously, there's salary cost, but it does not seem like there's much of a market for him. And could you just basically obtain him by giving them the expiring Tobias Harris salary and the the enormous leap in offensive ability from Tobias Harris to Zach LaVine, it does make you think about it.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Does it make you worried that the Bulls have gotten so much better without a, 70% giving a shit Zach LaVine, if that?
No.
It doesn't.
I mean, I
I'm
probably
surprised by
wouldn't
that.
do it anyway, but it didn't make them.
The fact that the Bulls are better without Zach LaVine does not trigger your loser alarm. I was certain that you were going to say absolutely it did.
No, I just think they're built poorly, and that there becomes like he doesn't want to be there. The team is 18 months past his expiration date. Like I wouldn't worry about that. He doesn't scream loser to me. People don't complain about him. I don't think teammates dislike him. Like he seems to want it when I watch him. He seems like I don't ever see him checked out when I'm watching. So no. But
he was this season for sure, especially
this season. But they've been talking about publicly trading him the entire time. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. If the price is low enough and you just go like, well, he's just going to, then maybe.
Yeah.
That could be, I could see Daryl doing that and going like, well, he's signed to a big fat contract. The value around the league is relatively low. That's our music. We're coming in and we're going to pay one pick in Tobias, take it or leave it. It's interesting.
Ricky Sanchez.
Sorry. I was just going to, when you open it up to who is the perfect player, I don't think Donovan Mitchell's the perfect player.
No,
I want if they're going to be an offensive minded player, they need to be able to shoot off ball and not dominant, not want to like spread Embiid and Maxy out and go, it's my time.
By the way, which Zach LaVine can do. I'm not advocating for Zach LaVine. I'm just presenting the case. I think
absolutely,
yeah.
So, like, yeah. The names that I'm looking at right now of like affordability and helpful and would be in the playoff rotation when they shorten it to 7 or 8, because it doesn't make sense to trade for anybody that goes like, they got played out of the series. They're not in. And you just go like, well, why was that the guy that we went all in for? Because I do think, there's just players this offseason where you can go like, that would be really interesting. I don't think the Clippers are falling apart as much as I would want them to the point that Paul George becomes available this offseason.
That's not happening. Yeah.
But of the realistic ones, that's how I look at is either one of those Hawks players who for a team that is struggling. Maybe Marcus Smart, although Memphis is now on the way back with Ja back and everybody starting to play well, even though they're still really banged up. I don't think Brooklyn's trading McHale.
No.
I keep saying it.
They
want them to.
And they don't have enough to trade for him anyway, so it doesn't matter.
And then it's like, okay, I don't go as low as a Dorian Finney-Smith, who I think is a great player, but not changing the long-term fortunes of this team, I would say. So, and I feel that way about Caruso also. I know people love him, but I need somebody that can do a little bit more on the offensive end to give them a third, more flow efficiency than Tobias gives you as that third player, because it doesn't feel like Tobias consistently enough is getting his within the flow of the offense. It's more either he's not there or it's like, okay, let's give Daddy a touch. Let's give Daddy a touch in the mid range. Let him throw his ass into something.
Let's give Daddy a touch.
It's definitely let's give Daddy a touch mode that the Sixers occasionally go to. And Embiid is almost like clapping along for him when it's like, yeah, you got a guy that's 4 inches smaller than you. Like, go get him, bud. Like, it's a little bit of that, which I like, and I think they should do that. But it's certainly not like healthy, beautiful game offense.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Kornblau Kornblau, the official law firm of The Process. Nothing says Christmas like suing the pants off of somebody who did you wrong. Kornblau Kornblau will get that done for you. Look, if you've been injured in any sort of fashion, whether you've been injured dunking a basketball on a faulty rim, perhaps, maybe your coach, who was Mike, kept telling you that you should dunk, and you were like, but it's hurting my hand, and you did it anyway.
Yes.
And you're injured. Maybe that sort of situation like that happens all the time. Medical malpractice, injured at work, car accident, slip and fall, yada, yada, yada. All of these things are somebody is at fault, and you need a real good personal injury lawyer to take care of them. Kornblau and Kornblau, Kornblau, the premier boutique personal injury law firm in the Delaware Valley. What I guarantee you is this. I guarantee you somebody who's passionate about what they do, somebody who is good at what they do, somebody who will take the time to respond and communicate effectively and efficiently and whenever you need them. And then the other thing that I'm going to guarantee, which is important, is that when you reach out to Kornblau and Kornblau, you're going to get Adam Kornblau or a Kornblau. Many of these personal injury law firms you hear about, you see about, you call them, you just get shipped off to a different law firm. They're just referral services. They cannot even practice law in the place that they're advertising. It sounds crazy that they can do that, but they do it. But Kornblau and Kornblau is not the case. Offices all over the Delaware Valley, or we'll just come to your home. We'll just come to your home. House calls from Kornblau and Kornblau. Like I said, some of the biggest medical malpractice results in southeastern PA. He is your guy. If you think you might have a case, give him a call or shoot him an email. It doesn't cost you anything. 215-576-7200. Ask for Adam or email Kornblau, Kornblau, at kornblauandkornblau.com. Second all-time advertiser on rights, Ricky Sanchez, Kornblau and Kornblau. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. Here we go.
Why are things something we didn't? I meant to mention it. Anthony Edwards is talking about how good Joel is really cool.
Yes, is a good clip.
He's like, I don't understand how they ever lose, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah,
and we have some. Anthony, listen to the podcast. There's a lot of ways in which we've lost, and you could relive them all.
Well, I was going to say, hearing Anthony Edwards say that is almost depressing.
Yeah,
because you're like, you would think. Yes, you would think that, Anthony. However, there's so many different ways that we found. Yeah. We got this voicemail to 833 Lickfix.
Mike, DJ, Chris from Bethlehem here. I'm not a big coach of the year guy, at least based on the way it's voted on. It just seems to be, oh, you overperformed expectations this year. Let's give you coach of the year. Instead of actually going to the best coach in the NBA. Like, why does Eric Spoelstra not have one yet? I don't know. But why isn't Nick Nurse getting coach of the year hype? Feels like it's going to be Chris Finch or whoever's the best team in the West this year, or the Magic guy. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But Nick Nurse, first overall, has overperformed expectations, with Embiid being an MVP level again, better than he was last year. His passing's better. Maxey's improvement and his chemistry with Embiid being there, making Kelly Oubre a serviceable player. He's done all of these improvement and overperformance things that normally come with coach of the year. And the team is just really freaking good in general. And he's coached a great offense, one of the best in the NBA. He's coached a great defense. Why isn't he getting coach of the year hype is my basketball question. Non-basketball question, more cringe-worthy Michael Rubin moments, Merch Madness, or a literal movie? Thanks, guys.
So
it's got to be a literal movie for me.
Yeah, I think so. Merch Madness at least had a charity component to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, right now, for coach of the year, let me look at the odds.
Jamal Mosley is the Magic coach who should definitely be getting consideration.
Chris Finch is the favorite at plus 180, and Mosley is plus 400. Nick Nurse is plus 1,800.
It's a little low.
Yeah.
What number is that?
I'm sorry.
What is he ranked as far as?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's sixth. He is right between Rick Carlisle at plus 1,200 and Tyronn Lue at plus 2,000. I think the problem is it is very tough to win Coach of the Year if you have the MVP on your team.
Yeah,
who's even better. And I don't know what their record was at this point last year. And I'm not saying that Nurse isn't doing a good job. And I do think that he deserves some credit for keeping the team focused and positive during the entire Harden thing, but it is difficult. I don't know what their record was at this year, but last year, but I bet it was pretty similar. So it's tough. I think that's tough.
Yeah, I think Nick should be considered and talked about a little bit more, maybe, but I don't think that he should win. It's a little bit like winning most improved in your second year. Like, there's things that you can do as their first year on a job that just like simply being different gives you some like good feelings about. They were 20-12 on Christmas last year, and they are 20-8 right now.
Yeah. So close, but better this year.
Yeah. I would say like what Jamal Mosley's doing in Orlando rules. I think Chris Finch in his third or fourth year there absolutely should get a lot of credit. Tyronn Lue this is a difficult job that he has. And so if they keep succeeding, although they've lost 2 in a row, then that should be something that's considered. I tend to rule out first year coaches at a new team just because there's low hanging fruit that they can do, and simply just like not having the baggage of the previous coach. Like Doug Collins, anytime he was gone, people would just be so happy that he's not here anymore, that the next coach just has a better vibe around him. And it does feel like eventually they're just going to give a lifetime achievement award to Eric Spoelstra for what they did last year. This could be the year if they are within, if they're a top 5 in the Eastern Conference, which they will have a decent chance at being. I think it might just be okay. Let's all just agree that it's time to give Eric Spoelstra his award because, I mean, he's obviously the best or one of the best coaches in the league.
Well, and the reason he doesn't win it is because since the Heatles, his teams have not been particularly good in the regular season. I mean, the whole thing is that they play better in the playoffs than they do in the regular season. You're not. They were in the play-in last year. Like, What are we talking about? I'm sure he's a good coach, no doubt. He's no doubt a good coach. But when he deserved Coach of the Year, was honestly his ability to get his most impressive job was not recently. It was when the LeBron, Wade, Bosch teams were there. Managing that from an ego standpoint and from an on-court standpoint, and to basically get LeBron to play in a way that he had never played before for the benefit of the team and it was them against the world. That was tough. Like, that was a tough job. I don't think him, fucking coaching the Jimmy Butler Heat to 43 wins deserves Coach of the Year, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah, I just think he's won in so many different ways. I don't disagree that the LeBron, the Heatles era was incredibly
He'll be in the
impressive.
Hall of Fame, by the way.
It's just like he's won with so many different teams in so many different ways and continued to get incredible production out of those sort of overlooked, undrafted, cast aside type players that just become, very, very helpful in the Heat system. It's very obvious that Jaime Jaquez will be good, by the way. Like, why do NBA teams let this happen? Why is Trace Jackson Davis fall to 57 and goes to the Warriors and it's like, yeah, he's good. He's good here. He's athletic and he has high basketball IQ. He rebounds like crazy. He has nice touch around the rim. He can, it drives me insane that so many teams just refuse to draft good players that are very obviously good right away. And they're like, what if we trade up for Anzej Pasechniks again? What if we redraft him? It's insane. But anyway, it just feels like eventually, yes, if they win 46 games this year, it's not going to be like, wow, this was the coaching job of the year. But there's just narrative to it, and there's bigger picture stuff than just one individual season, I think. And I eventually got to give Spoelstra one because it's crazy if he's not.
I don't think so. I don't think they have to give him one unless he deserves one.
But I think the playoffs should count in Coach of the Year, and you award it to him. So if you can't count this year's playoffs, then you should count last year's playoffs and them making the run that they did to the finals. Haven't they been in the finals in 3 out of 4 seasons?
2 out of 4.
Eastern Conference Finals at least. Yeah. Like this is a level of consistent success
for sure.
With a not an imperfect roster. That should be rewarded with a Coach of the Year eventually. And so if it's a makeup call for previous years, then I'm fine with that. I'm tired of hearing about it as like he's never won one. It's like, well, you guys have the chance to do that as voting people.
This came from Zach to write@Ricky.Sanchez@gmail.com. Hi, Spike, Mike, and CJ. And by the way, I think addressing CJ in the emails is creating things like we had at the Wells Fargo Center the other day. Let's just keep perspective on CJ. Hi, Spike, Mike, and CJ. Zach from Reading, PA. I just listened to the podcast post Bulls game and thoroughly enjoyed the Merch Madness analysis. Just one day prior to your episode, I was also listening to the podcast On Purpose with Jay Shetty, where Michael Rubin was the guest. During this interview, Rubin had a few quotes that I want to share with you. 1, One of the most unique things about me is the diversity of friends that I have. 2, I still probably spend 10 to 20% of a 70 to 90 hour work week interviewing people. So I am a beast on finding great talent within our companies. Non-basketball question. Do you think that Tom Brady, Meek Mill, Robert Kraft, and Lil Baby are the diverse group of friends he referred to you? Do you think Rubin was the beast that hired the talented producer of the music video? What do you think Rubin's home run question is that he asks in all interviews? I didn't want to listen to this interview, but I had to listen knowing some questions to email about you. So, Mike.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Do you?
I will never be able to do that, but just if someone could just sort of cull the quotes that we need to discuss, that would be very much appreciated. So thank you, Zach.
You know, what I always do when people ask me about my friends is I point out that they are different races and ages and come from different economic backgrounds. I like to point out how diverse they are.
And most importantly, I conveniently leave out the part that they're all very famous.
Yeah, and very rich.
Very famous and very rich. They're diverse in the fact that they're famous in different ways and rich in different ways. But they are that. But I'm going to talk about the other stuff.
Diverse in the fact that they may be different races, but they all get invites to my white party. Like, something tells me that no non-famous rich people are invited to Michael Rubin's literal movie party. It's a literal
movie in that, like, they have to watch. They sit on, maybe like upstairs. My non-famous friends get to be somewhere else. There's a little garden where they can watch from where they aren't seen.
One more voicemail, one more email. 833 Lickface is a good theory.
Guys, this is Jack from New Jersey. I'm calling because I've figured out why the Eagles have been dog shit these past couple of weeks, and it's the Sixers' fault. Jalen Hurts, QB, went to the Sixers game when they played the Lakers in November 28th. That was like the day after the Bills game. And what's happened ever since then? The Eagles have been dog shit and very Sixersy, getting rid of their defensive coordinator in the middle of the season when they're 10-3 and changing it with worse vibes defensive coordinator in like recent football history with Matt Patricia. The offensive coordinator has not been good the whole year, but has been particularly pedestrian in his play calling these last 3 weeks. And to that I say, it's because Jalen stepped foot in the Wells Fargo Arena. He just soaked all the bad vibes. He took the bad vibes with him, and he brought it to the Eagles practice facility, and just infected with Sixers loser energy. Now, what's nice, as I'm a little more of a Sixers fan than I am an Eagles fan, look, the Sixers are good, so I don't really care that much. I do care, but it's sad. But it is why I can't articulate.
Mike, your thoughts that that Jalen Hurts sucked up all of the bad vibes out of the Wells Fargo Center, brought them to the NovaCare complex, and left the Sixers full of good vibes and the Eagles full of bad vibes.
Yeah, classic Freaky Friday situation. I think it's a trade that we would make. The Eagles have had plenty of success. The Sixers could use some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's generous of him to agree to that swap. But yeah, the Eagles aren't. They're not good.
A lot of bad vibes. A lot of bad vibes.
Matt Patricia coming across good in a press conference is like the best thing that's happening to them right now.
That's a bad vibe.
Yeah.
This comes from Brian, writes RickySanchez@gmail.com. One basketball question, one non-basketball. Basketball. Nick Nurse's familiarity with Anunoby and Siakam has been mentioned as a helpful factor in deciding on potential trade with Toronto. But on the flip side, would the Raptors front office even be willing to make a deal with the Sixers that ultimately helps Nurse succeed on a division rival, potentially making them look even worse for allowing him to walk? I wonder if there are personal issues involved similar to the speculation around original Harden trade with Houston. I think
certainly possible.
Certainly possible. I think it's probably more likely that what's his name? Ujiri has been so over the top in his demands for these players that the Sixers would not be able to meet trade demand for either player to get them anyway. I think that's probably more of the issue than trading him. Division rival, maybe the Nick Nurse thing. I have no idea. They had a successful run together, Nick Nurse. It didn't seem bad.
Yeah, it seems like they probably grinded on each other towards the end, but that happens, I think, anywhere. It's just at a certain point, like I've been asking this for a year. Like, why? What is Toronto doing?
Yeah,
they're 11-18. They are the 4th worst team in the conference. Below them are the Hornets. They're 12th in the East.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Like, Scotty Barnes is good and looks like he should be able to be the best player on a playoff team sometime. But they just keep not having enough shooting. Dennis Schroeder is their starting point guard, which he's a fine player, but is not bringing the house down. Anunoby and Siakam plus Barnes have there's a lot of derivative skill sets in there. Jakob Poeltl can't shoot. There's just like
you traded a first-round pick for Jakob Poeltl, did he not?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
They drafted Grady Dick early, and he's in and out of the rotation. He's young. They just not like Otto Porter is playing minutes. I don't understand. I don't understand the thought process here, and I think because they won that Kawhi championship, there's a little bit of like Masai's got something up his sleeve, and it's like, no, he's just holding on too long. He let Fred VanVleet walk for nothing. Now he's got 2 expiring contracts in Siakam and Anunoby. If they trade neither of them before the deadline
and lose them both, by the way,
or if they sign them both, what are they re-signing this?
Yeah,
they're one step above the Hornets.
Yeah,
I don't understand it. I love Anunoby, and I just don't think that the team is that he should be the guy here. I really love him. I've loved him for so long, and it's weird for me to say that, but I just he doesn't do enough on the offensive end to make you a bigger threat in the playoffs. I understand the defense is incredible and would be, and hawkishness that the Sixers don't really have. Melton is a little small for that. Oubre is a little unfocused. Batum is very good, but obviously older. Pat Bev obviously has his thing. So I'm not saying it is a skill set we don't need. I'm just saying if we're going to get one guy, I would rather have a guy that can take some of the pressure off of Maxey and Joel. And that could have been Siakam. I would have. It made more sense to me when it was a Harden Siakam trade. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. But now that Maxey's here and doing his thing, it's like I want a guy that's a little more easy on the catch and shoot. And Siakam would get into his. He's like a foul drawing Tobias. He's better than Tobias, but it's like, how much better?
This and his non-basketball question, honest answers only. How far in advance of going to a restaurant do you look at the menu and decide what to order? Especially post-30, having to plan meetups with friends with plenty of notice, I always feel like I have to pretend like I haven't studied and been thinking about this one decision all week. Yikes.
Why do you have to pretend?
Well, why do you? That's what my
if you're
wife
excited
does.
about going to a restaurant, just go like, I'll read an article about a place. I'm like, what's the thing I should get here? What's like the legendary thing? Whatever.
People stress too much on what to order at a restaurant. My wife will look at the fucking menu all week long and get there and be opening up her Instagram to look at pictures of the dishes once we're there, as if she hasn't done it already. I don't know.
I'll check either in the moment or right before, but doing it for a week is a lot.
Yeah,
it's like not a good use of your time. But if you're spending a lot of money in this place, you want to get the full experience. I certainly relate to it being like, I want to get the right experience. I want to get the good one.
I think the difference for me at this point, now I've never been a menu studier, but the difference for me at this point is the vegan thing. There's usually, I just look at the menu to make sure there's something I can get. Like to look what my 1 or 2 options is going to be. So I don't really have that much choice. Now, if I am going to a restaurant where there is a lot of choice, again, I don't look very much. I make very quick decisions. I look at the menu when I get there and I make a quick decision. What's my gut say? So I wish I didn't have to make the decision at all. I would love to say to the waiter or waitress, tell me, pick. No cucumbers, but pick. That would be my rule.
Yeah, I like to ask. I like to boil it down to one or two things. I like when a friend tells me what to get.
Yeah.
When, we were just in Hawaii for a couple of days, and Weber just basically told us where to go to every place. And I
Wow,
was like,
what
great.
an elite conversation that sounds like.
Yeah,
Weber's
it's just
telling
like,
you where to go in Hawaii? Jesus Christ.
That was great.
Fuck. And one final voicemail, 833 Lake Face.
Hey, Spike, Mike, and CJ, Connor from Havertown here. Basketball question. If you could pull any Sixer or anyone across from the league to go to a Carnival game with you, one of those Carnival games where they have the basketball hoops that's like really tall or maybe it's moving, who would you pick to just be like off of practice? They had no practice with what it is. Who do you think you'd be most confident to hit one of those crazy-ass Carnival shots without any practice? Not in basketball question, particularly for Spike. I know I'm doing the thing, and I actually want to work on that because I'm trying to create content. Don't worry, I'm not trying to shout myself out. I just want to work on it. So how do you suggest people work on this? Like for us, voicemailers too, how do we work on not doing the thing? Because honestly, it's a habit I'm trying to break. So appreciate any advice. Thanks, guys. Love the pod.
Good for you. I mean, the answer to the first question is Steph Curry, right?
Oh, I thought we were doing Sixers. I was going to pick Maxey.
Oh, he said anyone from across the league.
No, I'll still pick Maxey. I feel like his youth, his proximity to Carnival age, I think is relevant here. And so I'm going to go Maxey. I think he takes it seriously. I think he has great touch from anywhere. I think he's played a lot of Carnival games. That would be my guess. I think he's winning a lot of big stuffed animals for girls and friends growing up.
Imagining him with a giant teddy bear also seems apt. The only other person on the Sixers I would consider is Kelly Oubre, who I'm sure at a lot of points has done like Kobe and like fallen away like in just every different way he can. He's just not as good a shooter. As far as the I'm glad you asked such an important question.
My God, fucking pandering to Spike.
I did take the out of his voicemail for his. The only reason I know this is because an old program director, shout out Jeff, pointed out that I did it on the air. I heard it. I was horrified and I worked on it. There's two things you can do. Because I want you to be able to not as well, especially when you're on a company Zoom call, maybe a Rights Ricky Sanchez voicemail. You have to slow down and be comfortable with pausing. When you're going to listen to yourself, record yourself. When you're going to pause. It's hard in the beginning, but then you get used to it. Be comfortable with silence. Be uncomfortable with umming. That's
disagree.
T-shirt.
All you want.
Do not.
We're human beings, not robots.
Yes, of course. We're human beings and not robots, but we should take pride in language.
We're not AI. We're not podals.
I am a podal renter.
You are trying to make people into podals.
Mm-hmm. Renters. We call them renters.
What did podal? What did that mean to say? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't think it meant to say anything.
It didn't mean to say anything.
No, the Sixers one was the one that was spelled all weird, but the podal renters just said podal renters.
Mm-hmm. We can't surmise what it meant.
I don't think so, unless you could.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
Can't relate.
Merry Christmas. We will be back with you the day after Christmas to talk about Sixers Heat. You feeling good about this game? Jimmy Butler is questionable with I think an ankle or something.
Would love to win this game. Would love to win this game on Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
They beating Minnesota and Toronto relatively handily in a non-stressful fashion. And then going into this Christmas game, it feels it's hard to get a read on this team, right? Old Sixers probably would have lost.
Yes.
These Sixers,
never know.
Serious Sixers. I'm not sure. I would like to win. This is the first time they played the Heat this season, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I would like to win this game.
I would also like to win. That is my prediction. I would like to win.
Yeah, I predict that for me as well.
We'll
almost
talk to
always.
Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you on the 26th. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, Christ face.